Hey guys, it's Apple, and today I'm going to be reviewing my mom's Unibody Macbook. Before I start the review, I just want to warn you guys that my mom purchased this back in the beginning of April, which was before it actually received a slight upgrade. So now instead of 2.26 gigahertz for the baseline model, you'll be getting 2.4 gigahertz. And there's also a 10-hour battery instead of what I believe was a 7-hour battery. So just keep that in mind. So speed may be a little bit better and battery life will obviously be a couple hours better. So this is the box that the MacBook comes in. And in the box, of course, you'll receive the MagSafe power adapter. This part plugs into the MagSafe port. This part plugs into the wall. But you also receive an extension. You'll get a package that says designed by Apple in California, and that contains this Everything Mac manual, and everything else contains a couple of CDs, Apple stickers, warranty information. In the first part of this review, I'm going to cover design. So this MacBook has been completely redesigned from the older white MacBooks. It's a white polycarbonate unibody enclosure. So just like the MacBook Pros that are made out of aluminum, it's just one block of plastic, I guess you could say. It's not several pieces, and that results in a much more solid feel to the machine, and it definitely feels like it's going to last longer. It feels thinner in the hand, and overall it's just a huge improvement over the white MacBook that I have. This one here. You can see in the back, it's made up of several pieces. Now that it's a few years old, it feels a lot squeakier, I guess. As you can see, it's very glossy, especially this top lid, so it is prone to fingerprints, of course, and scratches. If you hold this up to the light, you'll see a lot of like circular lines, and I guess that's just from using it a lot. No like dents or anything. We haven't experienced any of that. But if you don't take good care of it, it will get very dirty, very fingerprinty, and it won't look as nice as it did when you first took it out of the box. So I recommend taking good care of it, cleaning it often. The bottom of the machine is pretty much the only part that is not glossy. It's got a matte finish, and it's kind of a rubberized bottom. This is good when using it on any surface. It doesn't slide around, but unlike the previous generation, it was all plastic on the bottom, and it used these rubber feet. These rubber feet wear down. This bottom isn't really gonna like come off at all or anything like that. It does attract dirt, as you can see right over here. There's some dirt, but it's the bottom. Who cares? At the front of the MacBook, there's a magnetic latch, which is how you open and close it. And it definitely feels much improved over the MacBook that I have. It's not as hard to open, but it still has a little bit of resistance since it is magnetic. So when you open it up, you can see it is completely glossy here. That is one complaint of mine. I don't like the glossiness on it. I feel like you have to be really careful to make sure that still looks nice. It's not really a big deal. I have heard some complaints of it feeling sticky on your wrists when you're typing. I haven't had a problem with that, neither has my mom when she's been using it. Going over the actual like hardware components of the machine. On one side, you'll find all of your ports. Got a MagSafe power adapter, and that's how you charge the computer. The MagSafe works really well. It is slightly redesigned from the older versions of the MacBooks. You plug it in, and it kind of just automatically latches in because it's magnetic. And the great thing about it is that if you were to trip over the cord or something, the whole computer won't go flying off your desk. The cord will actually automatically pop out of the port. Then you've got a Ethernet port, mini display port, and you can use the mini display port to connect to external monitors. You just have to buy an adapter. 2 USB ports and an audio out. If you were to purchase the MacBook Pros, you'd get an SD card slot and a FireWire 800 port, so that is one thing to consider. However, most cameras nowadays don't really need a FireWire port. You can use USB. On the other side, you'll find the super drive where you can insert a CD. You can also burn CDs if you want to. On the older MacBooks, when you turn over the machine, you'll find like the battery is actually removable. You just take a coin and turn and pop the battery out. With these newer MacBooks, the battery is not user replaceable, but because of that, you'll actually get longer battery life. And I'll actually talk more about that in another part of this video. That's all I really have to say about the design. The only disadvantage would have to be the fact that it gets dirty. And if you go to an Apple store or a Best Buy where they have the MacBooks out for anyone to use, you'll see that they look really gross. So please, if you do purchase one, I recommend that you take good care of it. Now we're going to take a look inside the MacBook at the keyboard and the trackpad. So the keyboard is a joy to use. It's extremely comfortable because of the unibody structure. Everything feels more solid. You could pound really hard on these keys and you're not going to feel like you're breaking anything. I actually find it more comfortable to type on this than on my keyboard that I use with my iMac because it's just all one piece. It's all built together. The keyboard's also a full-size keyboard. You're not going to feel cramped at all. If I compare it to the keyboard that I use on a daily basis with my iMac, it's the exact same size. And also at the top, you have keys that are preset for certain functions in OS X. So you're going to have the escape key, obviously, and then your brightness keys, up and down, an expose button to show all your windows, a dashboard key, F5 and F6 you can set yourself, and you can actually set any of these function keys to do whatever you want, except for that there's obviously pictures here for preset functions. You have controls for, say, iTunes, so you have the backwards, play pause, forwards, then you have your mute key, volume down key, volume up key, and then eject. One of my favorite parts of the MacBook has to be this trackpad. I don't know the exact size of it. It's around 3 inches or so. It's a glass trackpad. It's very smooth. It's the smoothest trackpad I've ever used. It's just so comfortable. You could use it for a really long time. It supports multi-touch gestures. That's one of the reasons it's so large. You have your 2-finger scrolling. You can use 3 fingers to browse the web, go backwards and forwards with 3-finger swiping. You can use 4 fingers for, I think, expose and switching between applications. And you can actually customize what certain gestures do. There's a whole option in system preferences that walks you through the gestures. Another nice one is pinch to zoom. You can actually zoom in on web pages if you find the text too small. My mom uses that feature a lot so she doesn't have to put on her reading glasses. The whole trackpad serves as a button. I'd say the top third of the trackpad isn't clickable, but most anywhere else it is. The only thing I don't like about the trackpad would have to be the clicking noise. It can get a little loud, I guess, if you're working in, say, a library. I feel like if you're somewhere where it's really quiet, it may disturb people, but it's really not that big of a deal. Another thing is that when my mom started using it, she kept pinching to zoom in on web pages by mistake because she'd have one finger on the trackpad while trying to move the cursor. So it does take a little bit of getting used to, but once you get used to it, it's such a pleasure. This screen has been upgraded from the previous generation MacBooks to be LED backlit. It's still 13 inches, but the color quality and the brightness is so much better. You can tell just looking at this MacBook compared with my old MacBook side by side. It's a huge difference. Even at low brightness, this computer is very usable. My mom's been using it at like halfway or below halfway, and we didn't even realize that she was using it at below the max brightness, and when we turned it up all the way, it just blew us away. It's a pleasure to look at for a long time. You don't experience any kind of eye strain, or at least we haven't, so that's a good thing as well. If you're just doing web browsing, reading email, listening to music, watching movies, the screen's not going to feel too small. I think 13 inches is the perfect size for a laptop, especially for traveling. Okay, so now on to performance. First of all, the battery life. For this particular model, I'm pretty sure it was advertised at 7 hours. Now they have upgraded the battery to be 10 hours if you purchase a MacBook, but this particular model was 7 hours, and we definitely get 7 hours very easily. And this is with like medium brightness and doing basic tasks like email, web browsing, like photo viewing, mostly media consumption, not media production. I do not know how this machine performs battery life wise if you were to edit a video and not have it plugged in, because that's not what my mom does on this computer. But for the average user, they're gonna be wowed by the battery life, and that's another big plus when it comes to traveling. If you're on an airplane, you can watch a couple of movies and be completely fine with the battery life. This thing definitely lasts as long as Apple said it would. Something that really impressed me about the MacBook is how it performs when it's on your lap. Usually with a laptop, it will get really hot, the fans will get really loud. It's a quiet machine, it doesn't get hot. I think that could have to do with maybe the bottom, but it seems to stay at the same temperature. It's comfortable to use, and I definitely recommend it. Overall, if you're deciding between the white MacBook and the MacBook Pro, there's really not much of a difference between them spec-wise. With the MacBook Pro, you're going to be getting a backlit keyboard, some extra ports, and maybe a more solid build if you like that aluminum feel better. But honestly, this MacBook, it went above my expectations performance-wise. The design is beautiful, it's solid, it's going to last you a while. You won't have to worry about upgrading in a couple of years unless you obviously want to get a speed boost. But I think that this is a great buy for a first-time Mac user, but it works for people who, let's say you have a desktop machine and you want a laptop. A MacBook's fine. You don't need to go out and purchase a MacBook Pro. The Pro really doesn't add too much, and I think this machine is perfectly capable of video editing, photo editing, both of them at the same time. Maybe not as much. The screen's 13 inches and you can't expect it to be like a powerhouse. I'm not going to really tell you if it's worth it for the price, because there's always arguments about how Apple's computers are overpriced, but I think that for the stability you're getting with the operating system, for the durability, for how long it's going to last you, this is definitely worth a purchase, especially if you don't have the money for a MacBook Pro. There's nothing wrong with getting a MacBook. It works great.